안녕하세요. UK Talks 웨비나 시리즈 2탄 이번 6번째 세션에 참석해 주셔서 감사합니다. 오늘 마지막 세션인데요. 저는 주한영국문화원 교육사회실 홍지연입니다. 지난 12월에 진행했던 그 학부편 웨비나 시리즈에 보내주신 뜨거운 성원에 힘입어 이번에는 석박사 유학 그리고 커리어 개발을 주제로 총 11개의 웨비나를 지금 진행하고 있는데요. 이번 세션은 영국 대학원 유학을 계획하고 있는 분들, 특히 그 본국에 가서 공부하고 싶은 분들께 유익한 시간 되길 바라면서 이번 6번째 세션 시작하겠습니다. 이번 세션에서는 영국 비자이민국의 사이먼 무리스 담당관을 모시고 영국 석박사 유학 관련 비자에 대해서 직접 설명하는 시간입니다. 최근 업그레이드된 영국의 학생 비자 시스템, 스튜던트 비자와 그리고 유학 후 취업 구직 비자인 graduate route에 대해서 주로 다룰 예정이며 개인의 케이스에 대한 직접적인 조언을 할 수는 없지만 대부분의 영국 대학원 유학생들이 궁금할 내용에 대해서 질의응답한 시간도 가질 예정이니까 끝까지 함께 해주세요. 시작에 앞서 간단한 당부의 말씀을 드리고자 합니다. 이번 웨비나는 약 40분간 영어로 진행될 예정입니다. 그리고 발표가 끝난 후에는 실시간 질의응답이 진행될 예정이니까 궁금한 점이 있으면 채팅창에 질문을 해주세요. 채팅창에서 내 질문이 아니더라도 공감 가는 질문이나 마음에 드는 답변이 있으면 좋아요 버튼을 눌러주시면 됩니다. 그리고 저희가 이제 인기도 많고 그리고 저희 세션에 부합하는 질문들에 대해서 답변을 드릴 예정입니다. 웨비나 종료 전에 저희가 댓글이랑 코멘트 중에서 한 분께 랜덤으로 저희가 준비한 선물을 드릴 예정이니까 끝까지 자리 지켜주시면 감사하겠습니다. 그럼 지금부터 시작하겠습니다. Hi Simon, thank you so much for waiting for our opening in Korean. So I'll introduce you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's great to introduce our guest speaker, Mr. Simon Maurice, Customer Account Manager from UK Visa and Immigration. His presentation will cover topics including student visa for postgraduate students and new graduate route as a post-study work visa. I'll now hand over to Simon now. Simon, we're now ready for your presentation.
Okay, thank you very much for the introduction and a warm welcome to everybody online. Thank you for taking the time to attend this session this evening. As briefly introduced, I'll be covering the student visa route into the UK and also some of the other options for you that allow you to stay in the UK once you've completed your studies. Before we start the session, I'd just like to remind everybody that this is an overview, and whilst I'll cover the main points, it's always important to check our website, which will give you a link at the end of the session. So thank you once again, and I'll now start with the first slide, please. So just to cover the main part of the application is who actually needs a student visa. We can go back a screen, please. That's okay. Okay, so who needs a student visa? British citizens don't need a visa. If you hold dual nationality and one of your nationalities is as a British citizen, you should ideally enter the UK as a British citizen. But if that is the case, you may want to get more specific advice from your university at the time. EU citizens, with the current transition period from the UK transitioning from the EU, EU nationals will now need to apply for a student route visa, and please refer to the website for further guidance if you are an EU citizen. Other citizens, of which we will assume that most people or everyone on the seminar is a Korean passport holder, then we will ask you, if you're going to the UK to study for more than 6 months, apply for a student route visa. There are some exceptions, but we will be discussing this presentation on the assumption that people are going to study in the UK for more than 6 months. Next slide, please. So the two student visa types to get to the UK are for a standard student. This is for somebody aged 16 or over, who is going to attend formal education in the UK with an approved sponsor education provider. There is also a child student route for minors, and this is for children aged between the age of 4 to 17, formal education, again with an approved registered sponsor to UK visas. You may notice that the 16 to 17-year ages overlap. It's entirely up to you if you're between these ages, which one you choose to apply for. Again, the website will confirm the situation. Thank you. Next slide, please. So an overview of the student visa process. The pre-application process, you need to obtain a CAS or a confirmation of acceptance for study in its full term, and this will be provided to you by your education provider in the UK, and it is normally sent to you in email format, and this document is vital to your application as it will contain all of the relevant information required by the application form that you will go on to complete on the next stage. We would ask you to check your visa route on the government immigration website. Your education provider hopefully can point you in the right direction and provide you with some advice. But if in doubt, then please do refer to the government website, which has all the full details and information. You then need to go on to prepare your documentation, which we will cover in a bit more detail later on. And once you've done that, you can then move on to your online application. The online application form links can be found within the gov.uk website. And as it says, the whole process is able to be done online. So you'll complete your application form. Once you've submitted that, you'll then be prompted to pay your visa application fee by credit card. And also your immigration health surcharge, which is a mandatory fee for all students going to the UK for more than 6 months, and gives you full access and healthcare under the National Health Service. You can then choose to self-scan your supporting documents and book your appointment online. If you do not self-scan your documents, you will be asked to use a user pay service at the application centre when you submit your application. You will then need to, on the day of your appointment, attend the VAC. Now, a VAC is a visa application centre, and this is run by our corporate partner, VFS Global, in South Korea, and is based in Seoul. When you attend the application centre, you will be asked to submit your passport and any relevant documentation that you may not have scanned. And you'll also be asked to submit your biometrics, which will be 10 prints of your fingers, and also a biometric photo, which will be taken by the application centre. The process should take no longer than 30 to 45 minutes, and then you can have your documents returned to you either by courier or in person once completed. Thank you. Next slide, please. Now, we have something called a differentiation agreement. I'll make that sound a little bit more user-friendly. What this means is that for the countries listed as of the date of this presentation, come under what we call Appendix H of the immigration rules. And as you can see, South Korea is one of those countries listed. And what this means is that you do not have to submit some of the documentation for your application. So it exempts you from having to provide certain documentation with translations in a vast majority of cases, and allows you to self-declare this information with a signed application form to the application centre. And we'll cover that in a little bit more detail on the next slide. Thank you. So the supporting documents, as you can see, there is a difference between countries that are under the differentiation arrangement and those which are not recognised under this. As I say, for the purposes of this seminar, as a Korean passport holder, you will not be required to submit certain documents. So I'll go through the ones, all of these one by one now. The Ihs reference number is your health surcharge reference number, which is provided to you when you pay by credit card. You are required to submit a TB certificate, which is tuberculosis. Again, details of the test centres can be found on the government immigration website. You will need to provide, if applicable, there are certain subjects under the student route in the UK that do require you to provide a academic certificate to prove that you have been cleared to or recognised that you are studying certain subjects. These are normally scientific subjects, so please do refer to your university and see if an ATAS certificate is required. As I say, it's normally for scientific subjects, but please do check if in doubt. They are all listed on the government website. For children under the age of 18, you will have to provide a parental consent letter. We have a responsibility of care for all applicants, but especially for children and minors. So if you are under the age of 18, you will be required to provide a letter from your parents or parent, and it will need to confirm that they give their agreement and their permission to grant you with a visa to go and study in the UK. And in addition to that, you will need to provide a birth certificate or a family register document of some kind from your official authorities to confirm the relationship between the parents. As I say, this is only for under 18s, for those people normally applying in the child student category. The evidence of funds and any other qualification documents that are listed on your certificate or your CAS, your confirmation of acceptance for study, these can be self-declared on the application form. Now, we would recommend that although you do not need to submit these documents, you do have them in your possession and that they do meet the requirements of the immigration rules, because the immigration officer does have the authority in cases to randomly choose an applicant to contact them and ask them to submit them for random checks for internal audit requirements. So whilst the vast majority of these cases will not require any documents under the funds and the other documentation, please do make sure you have them in case you are contacted. If you've been to the UK before, you may have a biometric residence permit. Please submit either the original document if you've not handed it in on departure from the UK from your previous stay, or a PDF to confirm that you did hold this document. And if you do submit any documents which are not in English language, you will need to provide a translation. As you can see, the child student arrangements are very similar, but as I understand, most of the audience today will probably come under the main student criteria. But if in any doubt, please again do refer to the government website. Okay, next slide, please. So the biometrics residence permit is not issued to you before you get to the UK. What happens is when your visa is granted, you will be ordinarily, before we had the COVID situation, we would issue a 30-day visa, which is also known as a vignette. We're currently issuing those for 90 days because obviously we understand people may be delayed with their travel. And at the same time, you will be issued with a residence permit letter. This letter will confirm the post office or it will confirm that your institution will be responsible for providing you with your residence permit document when you enter the UK. The second step is obviously travel to the UK, present this to the immigration officer upon entry to the UK, and they will stamp your passport and let you into the UK. Once you've entered the UK, you will need to Under normal circumstances, go to collect your residence permit within 10 days of arrival. We understand that with the current situation in the UK, with possible continuing possible lockdowns and institutions not being able to open as normal, this may take a bit longer than 10 days, but please don't worry. There is a concession in place, but you should aim to collect your residence permit card as soon as possible. And full details of the address, which will either be the closest post office to where you are residing in the UK, or your institute will be able to provide you with your card when you go to collect it. Thank you. Next slide, please. Now, a question we often get asked is people, when they're in the UK, some people want to study to get a bit of extra money to travel around, to use the experience to get new experiences and travel to different destinations in England and across the globe. And we recognise that people do want to work at times to also get experience within their specific field, or again, just to get a better feel of British culture, which is very important and also is a very good way to experience life in the UK. So for most students who are going to study in the UK on a higher education course, which would be a degree level course or above, you should be permitted to study to work part-time for 20 hours per week during your study term and full-time during vacations. Now, it's very important that you check this to see that you are working the correct amount of hours, and this will be clearly shown on your residence permit card. So please do check the permitted hours that you can work when you collect your residence permit card. But it's perfectly fine to work in the UK within these permitted times. Thank you. Next slide, please. Now we'll go on to some of the post-study options. The government introduced a scheme which was announced last year and will be introduced in the summer of this year. I understand that at the moment that will be July 2021. But again, given the fluid situation we're in at the moment, please do check the government website for up-to-date details. The graduate route allows students that have completed their study at degree level, bachelor degree or master's degree level, to, upon granting a new permission to stay, can then stay in the UK to work for up to 2 years. If you've been on a PhD course and you've graduated, you may qualify to stay for 3 years to then go on and get some vital experience and contacts in the UK within your specific field and market sectors. Because of the current situation, all students that are enrolled on a summer course or from the summer of 2020, if they go to the UK by the 21st of June, they will be allowed to benefit for this new visa, but you do have to physically be in the UK by the 21st of June. So just to clarify, if you have a current student visa or you're enrolled on a course and you're studying remotely at the moment in Korea or a country where you're resident, which isn't the UK, if you want to be considered for the graduate route when it's introduced, you must currently, under current rules, be in the UK physically landed by the summer, June the 21st. Other options for work are a skilled workers visa, which is a standard working visa, which requires you to have a sponsor in the UK. The full details of the worker visa are listed on the website. I won't go into full details on this presentation, but it is possible to change into the work visa route. There are temporary work visas available as well when you finish your studying for short-term training, internships or work placements for up to a maximum of 24 months. Again, full details on the government website. And there is also a startup visa for innovators and entrepreneurs, which allows you to start your own business and invest a certain amount of money and provide business plans of your proposed entrepreneurship which will allow you, when you're endorsed by a relevant body in the UK, to apply for a startup visa. And this is a very, very good route and a very good way for you to, as I say, get entrepreneurial experience in the UK and get some very vital contacts for when you return maybe to your home country or your new country of residency. Full details again can be found on the government website for these other options. Next slide, please. The new points-based system Tier 4 student route has been modified and has now been more simplified and streamlined to make the process easier and also to allow you to study for longer periods in the UK if you wish to go on and increase your study, or to do more applicable subjects again to your areas of interest. So it allows you to apply for additional leave in the UK to stay in the UK. It will allow you to apply up to 6 months before your new intended studies, which gives you plenty of time to choose your course and to apply, so you can plan your future. And also removes current time limits, which limits the amount of time students can stay in the UK on postgraduate courses. Again, please do check the website for full details, but this has been improved and, as I say, streamlined and simplified to make this a very much more attractive option for students in the future. Next slide, please. So as we all know, this last year and going forward into this year has been a much different time for people with COVID-19. There has obviously been an impact for people who plan to go to the UK and are planning to go to the UK. The UK government has recognised this and recognises the disruption it may have caused to students. And obviously we want students to benefit from their experience of learning in the UK, or even if they're learning remotely, that this won't affect students for when they do eventually get the opportunity to travel to the UK. So distance learning is permitted under the current situation. So please, if you are distance learning, if you do choose to go to the UK at a later date than your visa was issued for, this is perfectly acceptable and will not go against your future plans for extending the stay. Graduate route, again, as I mentioned, this is a new route, but if you wish to apply for it and you were enrolled from the summer of 2020 on a course, but have been able to go to date because of the COVID situation, we have extended the date of entry from April until the 21st of June to allow people to get to the UK and decide if they wish to apply for this. There is also a 30-day visa replacement. So if you've had a visa issued for study in the UK, if this has expired until the end of this year, it has been agreed that we will issue a new visa for up to 90 days for free of charge. So please do, again, refer to the website on how to get that replacement visa. And the absences that you've not been able to attend the UK courses, but you've been studying remotely, will not count against you when you do eventually go to the UK. Next slide, please. So just some important points to remember. As I mentioned, whilst we do have the differentiation or the self-declaration for documentation under the funds and additional qualifications, we may at times ask you to provide those documents at a later date for random sampling. So as mentioned, please do make sure you have those documents. Funds are clearly listed on the website, so please calculate the amount of money that you need to qualify for your course fees and also your accommodation fees in the UK. Again, full details are on the website. If you've lost your current residence permit, or you lose your residence permit whilst you're in the UK, please do immediately report that to the UK visas over the website, and a replacement will be provided. Apply as early as possible for your visa, and this will save any delays. And if you are in a rush, there is a priority visa service for an additional fee, which is listed on our corporate partners website. And also, as I mentioned, the graduate route will be available for those that have entered the UK before the 21st of June 2021 and have completed their final semester of their studies in the UK. Next slide, please. So here are some useful links for you. Please do feel free to take a screenshot, and it will provide the links that I've referred to in the presentation, and also for you to gain some more information from, to enable you to be able to apply for your visa without any problems for the UK. Okay, so I believe that is the final slide, apart from the international travel guidance. So again, we are in slightly different times at the moment, and that does mean that we have to take a slightly different approach to people entering the UK. I will just cover this slide briefly because, again, this is a very fluent situation and is subject to change at any time. So I would encourage you to look at the government website if you are planning to travel to the UK for the latest arrival requirements for entry to the UK under the current COVID situation. But currently, you're required to have a test 72 hours before departure. You have to complete a passenger locator form, which helps us to contact you if there is a situation whereby we have to contact you for something COVID related. You will be required to self-isolate in the UK for 10 days up to when you're in the UK. And also there are various schemes where you can leave your isolation early if you take tests at a specified time. As I say, this is a general presentation, so I would encourage you to look at the full details on the government website, which will be able to confirm your situation at the time of entry to the UK. Thank you. So I will now hand over to my colleagues.
Oh, thank you, Simon. Okay, as you've just said, shall we move on to the Q&A session?
Please do.
We only have about like 8-9 minutes, not including the closing, the closure. So we will try to cover as many questions that we can see in the Q&A chat box here. Can you see the chat box?
Chat box, yes.
Simon. So I'll try to pick some questions, but then if you have any question that you would really like to address, then please feel free to interrupt and take the lead. Here's the first question that came into my attention is that, hi, can Korean nationals apply for the UK visa outside of Korea, or does it have to be done in Korea?
Yes, so if you're resident in another country, so let's say, for example, you're currently studying in Australia, for example, then you may be able to apply for your visa in your current country of residence. If you're visiting a country or you're there as a visitor, it's also possible, but we would recommend that you apply from your home country or the country where you're currently resident.
Okay. And another person here, after applying student visa, what happens if I defer my school entry to next year? Will I need to apply for visa again next year?
So if you're going to the UK to study exactly the same course of study that you applied for your current visa on, but due to, as I mentioned, the current situation, have been unable to go to the UK, you can, until the end of the year, apply for a replacement visa. Again, that will be updated as the situations change, but currently that's the situation. If you change your course of study or choose to go to the UK to study a completely different subject at a different institution, or even the same institution, you will need to apply for a completely new student visa.
I see. Hope that helps. So can you, are you in the position to kind of advise about global talent visa as well, or?
The global talent visa, yes, again, I mean, it's a route to work in the UK, but I'd be reluctant to try and sort of generalise too much on this presentation. Again, it's quite a sort of there is a lot of procedures to the application to make sure that you qualify. So what I would encourage people to do is to have a look at the website. If you do have a specific question, I'd be happy to answer it. But it's quite difficult to generalise within such a time period on the subject. But again, the categories are open to all people that would qualify. So if you feel you qualify, then please do make an application for consideration.
Another question here. How long is the visa given to pre-sessional students, like the pre-sessional that happens before master's course?
Yep.
Does the visa cover both pre-sessional course and master's course, or do you have to apply for two visas respectively? If you fail the pre-sessional course, does your visa expire as well?
Okay. So there's two situations. If you have been issued with a CAS, the document issued by your university or your institution, that just covers the pre-sessional course, then we will issue a visa that just covers the pre-sessional course. And then you will have to apply separately either in the UK or if you return back to your home country, in your home country, for a visa to cover the main course of study. On a separate application. If the institution issues an unconditional offer for both the pre-sessional course and the main course of study, then in that situation we may issue a visa to cover both courses. But it really does depend on the documents. We can only issue for what the institution states. So if it's a conditional offer, we can only issue for the pre-sessional. If it's unconditional, we can consider issuing for the full course. But again, it's case by case depending on the certificate.
I see. So you should really refer to the CAS document that you get.
CAS is the most important document for any student because it lists all of the relevant information and will give a student a good idea before they apply of the kind of time period that they'll be expecting to receive on their visa.
I see. Thank you for your answer. Another question here. Are there any tips when applying for visa with family members or dependents?
So if you're applying with family members, we will need to see that they are your family members, obviously. So again, marriage certificate, birth certificates, if you have family registration documents issued in Korea, then those documents. And also there is a requirement for funds for the main sponsor or to provide, which covers the costs of the dependents in the UK. Again, they're all clearly listed on the government website with the relevant fees. And also just to note that a separate application would be needed for each individual applicant. Okay.
I see. Another question here. So here is a person who asked about when should she or he apply for Tier 4 visa for master's program?
Well, you can apply up to a month before. So the date of your application is the day that you pay online. So it's not the day you attend the application centre. So when you've made your application online, that is the date of your application. And as I mentioned, it's best to apply as soon as possible. So if you have your documents and you've met all the requirements of the application and the criteria, I would suggest that you apply as soon as possible to avoid any disappointment with sort of travel arrangements.
I see. Thank you for the answers and such informative session. Now I think for time-wise, we need to close up the wrap up the session. I'm sure attendees would have found it very useful. Please, everyone, send your thank you messages and warm applause to Simon for a lovely session. And I will now switch back to Korean.
Okay.
참석자 여러분, 오늘 발표가 도움이 되었다면 채팅창에 메시지 남겨주세요. 질문이랑 감사 인사 주신 분들 중에서 한 분 선정해서 지금 이제 저희가 마음을 담아 준비한 선물을 드릴 예정입니다. 혹시 지금 채팅창에 이미 올라왔나요? 저희 그 세션이 끝날 때까지 제가 자신이 남긴 댓글에 혹시 뭐 대댓글이 달렸는지 당첨 축하 인사가 있으면 그분 된 거니까 거기 나와 있는 대로 해주시면 됩니다. 그리고 저희가 이제 앞으로 영국 유학 관련된 정보 혹은 행사 소식을 받아보고 싶으시다면 주한영국문헌 스터디 UK 카카오톡 채널을 추가해 주시면 되세요. 주한영국문헌까지만 쳐도 나오니까요. 꼭 검색해 주시고 또 그리고 더해 주시길 바랍니다. 오늘 저희가 준비한 6번째 세션 이제 마무리할게요. 참석해 주신 모든 분들께 진심으로 감사드리며 오늘은 이걸로 세션이 마무리되었지만 내일 일요일도 영국 기업 세션, 인터뷰 팁 세션, 그리고 IELTS랑 전공 토크 등 저희가 준비한 세션이 많이 남아있으니까요. 관심과 참여 바랍니다. 모두 코로나 조심하시고 즐거운 주말 되십시오. 감사합니다.